Hello there, and welcome to Sleepy Galaxy Channel. Tonight we are going to spend some slow, unhurried hours in the company of the largest planet in our solar system. A world so enormous that everything else circling the sun could be folded inside it with room to spare. A world of storms wider than whole planets and winds that never once fall silent. And here's the strange little riddle we are going to turn over in our hands tonight. The paradox we will hold up to the light and study from every side until it stops being frightening and starts being something almost tender. Jupiter is, by many measures, the most dangerous place we know of. Its gravity is monstrous. Its radiation would end you in moments. Its pressure would crush a submarine into a coin. And yet, and this is the part I want you to carry into sleep with you, that same danger, that same overwhelming size and pull and force, is very likely the reason you are here at all. The thing that could destroy you is the thing that has, for billions of years, been quietly keeping you safe. The monster at the edge of the neighborhood turns out to be the guardian at the gate. That is what we will explore tonight, slowly, from many angles. We will wander through 4 broad regions of this idea, and there is nothing you need to remember about any of them. We will begin with the sheer scale of Jupiter, the almost unimaginable bigness of it, and how bigness itself becomes a kind of shelter. We will drift into the story of how people first noticed this world and slowly came to understand what it was doing out there. We will float, at some point, without effort, and imagine being carried through space toward it, the way a leaf is carried on a wide, slow river. And we will settle, near the end, into the deep comfort of scale, the strange relief that comes from feeling very small beside something very large and very patient. 4 regions, no map required. You can let each one arrive and let each one go. If you find that this voice, or this channel, helps you soften towards sleep, then a like or a subscribe helps the channel reach others who are also lying awake right now, in other rooms, under other ceilings, listening for something to hold the dark at a distance. But that is for the waking world, and you are leaving the waking world now, so set it down. None of this is anything you need to hold on to. There is no thread here you must follow, no fact you must keep, no test at the far end of the night. The words will carry themselves. Settle in. Let your shoulders ease down, away from your ears, down toward the warm center of you. Let your jaw loosen. Let the small muscles around your eyes stop their working. Let the weight of your body be fully given to whatever holds it. The mattress, the pillow, the quiet floor of the night. You do not have to hold yourself up anymore. Something larger is holding you now. Let's begin. Let us begin where every honest description of Jupiter has to begin, which is with size, because size is the first true thing about it, and, in a way, the source of everything else. When you picture the planets as a row of tidy marbles on a shelf, you are being kindly lied to, because the real proportions do not fit on any shelf we could build. Jupiter is so large that you could pour more than 1,300 Earths into the space it occupies and still not fill it. Its mass is greater than all the other planets in the solar system combined, more than twice as much. So that if you gathered up Saturn and Neptune and Uranus and every small rocky world and every moon and every drifting stone and weighed them together on one side of a great balance, Jupiter alone on the other side would still tip the scale. It is not the largest thing among many. It is the largest thing by a margin so wide that the rest of us are almost a rounding error beside it. And I want you to feel that, not as a fact, but as a sensation. Because feeling is the language of sleep, and facts are only the excuse. Imagine standing at the base of something so tall that you cannot see the top of it, a cliff face of pale cloud that rises past where your neck can bend. And imagine that the cliff is not still, but slowly turning. Vast bands of cream and rust and amber sliding past each other in wide horizontal rivers, each river a storm, each storm broad enough to swallow our entire world without noticing. That is the face of Jupiter. And the thing about standing beside something that large is that after the first startle passes, after the mind stops trying to measure it, a kind of ease arrives. You are not required to comprehend it. You are only required to be small in front of it, and being small, it turns out, is a very restful thing to be. The great bulk of it does not care what you carry. It asks nothing. It simply is, and in its being, there is room to set your burdens down. This is where our guardian first appears, and I want to introduce it slowly, because we will return to it many times before the night is done. Picture, out at the far edge of where you live, past the thin ring of rocky worlds, a shield. Not a wall. Walls are cold and keep things out and shut things in. But a shield, a broad curved surface held up by something patient and enormous, angled between you and everything that might come rushing in from the dark. The shield is so large that you cannot see its edges. It hangs there, turning low and slow, and its whole vast weight is bent to one purpose, which is to stand between the soft interior where you sleep and the hard scattered debris of a much older, wilder time. You do not have to watch the shield. You do not have to thank it or tend it. It was raised long before you were born, and it will stand long after. And its size, the very thing that would crush you if you drew too near, is exactly the thing that lets it hold so much away. Rest behind it. That is what it is for. Let us stay with size a little longer, because there is a gentleness folded inside these numbers that is easy to miss. Jupiter is enormous, yes, but it is also, in a sense, unfinished, a world that reached for something and did not quite arrive. Deep in its heart, the pressure is so tremendous that hydrogen, the lightest and simplest of all the elements, the same stuff that fills the spaces between stars, is squeezed until it stops behaving like a gas at all and begins to behave like a metal, a strange shining liquid metal that conducts electricity and stirs in slow, enormous currents. If Jupiter had gathered just a little more of the early cloud, if it had grown perhaps 80 times more massive than it already is, those depths would have grown hot enough and dense enough to light, and it would have become a small star, a second sun, and the sky of every night would have held 2 lights instead of 1. But it stopped. It grew as large as a planet can grow, and then it held. A star that never caught, a fire that never lit, and instead of burning it, simply broadened, spreading its influence outward, not as heat but as gravity, not as light but as pull. There is something quietly moving in that, a giant that chose, in the only way a planet can choose, to be a shelter rather than a flame. And now let us turn, unhurried, to that word gravity, because it is the true heart of the danger and the true heart of the protection, and the two are the same thing seen from 2 sides. Gravity is not a force that reaches out and grabs. It is gentler and stranger than that. Every object with mass bends the space around it, the way a heavy stone laid on a stretched blanket sinks and pulls the fabric down into a curved bowl, and anything that comes rolling past finds its path bent inward toward the low place, not because it is seized, but because the ground beneath it is no longer flat. Jupiter, with all its mass, makes the deepest bowl of any planet in the solar system. It is a valley in the shape of space itself, so wide and so low that things drifting for millions of years across the dark eventually feel their paths curving, ever so slightly, toward it. And this is where the danger lives. For a rock that wanders too near will feel that curve steepen and steepen until it is falling, helpless, into the giant. But this is also where the mercy lives, for that same steep valley catches the wanderers that might otherwise have come falling toward us. Think of the early days of the solar system, though there is nothing you need to hold from this, only a picture to soften into. In the beginning there was no order, only a vast turning disk of dust and ice and stone, countless fragments of every size, colliding and sticking and shattering. A chaos of debris circling the young sun with no arrangement to it at all. Out of that chaos the planets slowly gathered themselves, each one sweeping its lane clearer as it grew, and Jupiter, first and largest and hungriest, swept the widest lane of all. But the sweeping was never finished. Even now, billions of years later, there are leftover fragments still wandering the outer dark, comets on long lonely paths, stray stones from the cold edges. And when one of them falls inward toward the warm center where the small worlds live, it must pass through the region where Jupiter holds sway. And more often than not, that deep bowl in space reaches up and takes it, either flinging it away entirely, back out into the dark where it can do no harm, or drawing it down into the giant itself, where it vanishes in a bright, brief flash into the endless clouds. We have actually watched this happen, which is one of the quietly astonishing things about living now. In a summer some decades ago, a comet that had wandered too close to Jupiter was caught by that immense gravity, pulled apart into a string of glowing fragments like a broken necklace, and then, one piece at a time, over several days, drawn down into the clouds. Each fragment struck with a force beyond any weapon our world has ever built, leaving dark bruises in the Jovian atmosphere larger than the entire Earth. Scars that lingered for months before the endless winds smoothed them away. And here is the thing to carry gently into your rest. That comet was falling inward. Had Jupiter not been there, occupying that place, bending that space, one of those fragments, or a stone like it on some other year, might have continued its long fall all the way to us. The giant took the blow so that the small worlds behind it would not have to. The shield turned and caught the arrow and held. So let us return to our guardian at the gate, now that we understand a little more of how it works. The shield is not passive. It does not merely sit and wait. Its whole enormous mass is a kind of slow, patient labor, forever tugging at the wandering things, forever bending their paths, forever clearing the road that leads to the hushed houses of the inner worlds. And the very quality that makes it deadly, that deep, low valley in space into which nothing can fall and return, is precisely the quality that makes it a keeper of the peace. You could not survive at the bottom of that valley. Nothing could. But you do not live at the bottom of the valley. You live far up on the gentle outer slope, where the ground is nearly flat and the pull is soft, and from there the great low place is not a threat, but a drain, carrying away the dangerous things before they can ever reach your door. The monster and the guardian are one. The same jaws that would crush also swallow the storms that would have found you. Rest is possible precisely because something so terrible stands so far away, doing its terrible work on your behalf. Let us drift now into the long story of how anyone came to know this at all, because the history of noticing Jupiter is itself a slow and soothing tale, a story of patient people looking up across thousands of years, each one adding a little to what the last one saw. For almost the whole of human time, Jupiter was simply a light, one of the wandering lights, a bright, unhurried point that moved against the fixed background of the stars along its own slow path. The oldest skywatchers, tending their fires under skies far darker than any we know now, gave it names and gave it stories, and they noticed, without any instrument at all, that this particular light moved with a stately calm, never hurrying, never doubling back for long, crossing the whole sky over the course of about a dozen years before returning to where it had begun. They did not know it was a world. They only knew it was faithful, that it kept its slow appointments, that it could be counted on to return. And there is a comfort in that even now, the oldest comfort we have, the comfort of a light in the sky that keeps coming back. For those long ages, that was all anyone could know, a bright, reliable wanderer and nothing more. Then, a little over 4 centuries ago, a man in a cool northern winter turned a small new instrument toward it, a tube with 2 pieces of curved glass, a thing barely more powerful than a modern child's toy, and what he saw rearranged the heavens. Beside the bright point of Jupiter, he saw 3 small stars in a line, and then 4, and over the following nights he watched them, and he saw that they moved. They shifted from one side of the planet to the other, they hid behind it, and emerged again. They danced back and forth in a way that no fixed star ever could, and slowly, over patient nights of watching and sketching by candlelight, he understood what he was seeing. Those were not stars. They were moons, worlds of their own, circling Jupiter the way our own moon circles us. Here was a small system, a family, a center with its own children orbiting around it, and it was not the Earth. For the first time, plainly, undeniably, here were things that went around something other than us. I want you to sit for a moment with how quiet that discovery was, because we tend to imagine the great turning points of understanding as loud, and they almost never are. There was no thunder. There was only one tired man in a cold room, breathing on his fingers to warm them, tilting a little tube toward a bright point of light and writing down, night after night, where the small companions had moved. The revolution arrived as a whisper, as a few points of light shifting a hair's width against the dark, and the person who noticed it went to bed each night, not knowing he had changed the shape of the sky. That is how most true things arrive, softly, at the edge of an ordinary evening, asking almost nothing of us but attention. You do not have to make any discoveries tonight. You have only to lie here and let the old serene knowledge settle over you like a blanket that other people, long ago, wove one thread at a time. From that first night of moons, the knowing deepened slowly, generation by generation, each set of eyes handing what it saw to the next. Better glass revealed the banded face of the planet, those wide horizontal stripes of cloud. Sharper instruments found the great oval storm, a single tempest larger than our whole world, turning and turning in the southern half of the giant, a storm that has been raging as far as anyone can tell. For centuries at the very least, longer than any nation now standing has existed. People gave the storm its name and watched it across their whole lives and passed the watching to their children, and the storm turned on, indifferent and immense, outlasting every watcher. There is no fear in that, only a strange steadiness. Some things are simply older and slower than we are, and will go on long after, and we are not asked to keep them turning. They turn on their own. We are only the fortunate ones who get, for a little while, to look. And then, in our own age, we did something the old watchers could only have dreamed of. We built small machines, and we sent them across the immense gulf out past the rocky worlds, out through the region of scattered stones, out to the giant itself, so that for the first time eyes of a kind could look upon it closely. It took years for each of these travelers to cross the distance, patient, silent things drifting through the long dark. And when at last they arrived and turned their instruments toward the banded world, they sent home pictures that rearranged our understanding all over again. They showed us the storms in their true churning detail. They showed us the faint rings, so thin and dark that from Earth we had never guessed they were there. They showed us the moons up close, each one a world with its own weather and its own strangeness, some cracked with ice, some smoldering with volcanoes. One of them hiding beneath a frozen shell, an ocean of liquid water larger than all the oceans of Earth combined. Each traveler added a little more, and then fell silent, its task complete, and drifted on or down into the clouds, and we who sent them gathered what they had told us, and understood our great guardian a little better than before. Let us turn now toward the moons themselves for a while, that little family circling the giant, because there is a great deal of rest to be found in them. Jupiter is not a lonely world. It travels with a retinue, dozens upon dozens of moons, some large enough to be worlds in their own right, some no bigger than mountains, all of them held in the great low valley of the giant's gravity, all of them turning around it in a slow and patient dance that has gone on for billions of years and will go on for billions more. The four largest, the ones first seen through that little tube on a cold winter's night, are worlds so distinct from one another that if you set them side by side, you would hardly believe they belong to the same family. One is a place of endless fire, its surface forever remade by volcanoes, painted in yellows and reds and sulfurous golds. One is sheathed in smooth pale ice, cracked across with long faint lines like the glaze on an old cup. One is the largest moon in the entire solar system, larger even than the smallest planet, with its own faint magnetic field, a moon that is very nearly a world unto itself. And one is dark and ancient and pocked all over with the scars of every stone that has ever struck it. A patient record keeper of the long bombardment. I find something deeply restful in the thought of that pale, ice-covered moon in particular, and I would like to lay it beside you as you drift. Beneath its frozen shell, kept liquid by the slow, steady kneading of the giant's gravity, there is thought to be a vast, dark ocean, warm enough to stay water, deep enough to hold more water than every sea on Earth. Imagine that, an entire ocean, hidden and quiet, sealed beneath miles of ice, never touched by wind, never troubled by storm, never lit by any sun, holding itself in perfect serenity in the dark, warmed from within by the patient tug of the world it circles. No waves break there, no tide crashes. There is only slow water in slow motion, turning over on itself across ages, in a silence more complete than any silence you have ever known. It is one of the most peaceful places we can imagine, and it exists right now out there in the dark, held safe beneath its shell by the very giant we have been calling dangerous. Let your breathing slow to the pace of that hidden sea. In and out, deep and dark and warm and untroubled. And notice how the danger and the shelter braid together even here, in the making of these moons. The reason that ocean stays liquid, the reason the fiery moon burns, is the giant's gravity itself, forever pulling and releasing, flexing these worlds as they circle, kneading them the way patient hands knead dough, and that flexing makes heat, and that heat keeps oceans warm and volcanoes lit. The very force that would tear you apart if you fell too near is the same force that, held at the right distance, warms a hidden sea and keeps it from freezing into stillness forever. Everything about the giant is like this. There is no clean line between its menace and its mercy. They are the same power, and the only thing that decides which one you feel is where you stand. Stand too close, and it destroys. Stand at the proper distance, out on the gentle slope, and it warms, and holds, and protects. And you, tonight, are standing at exactly the right distance. Far enough to be safe. Near enough to be kept. Here our guardian returns again, and I want to add a little to the picture we have been building. The shield at the gate does not stand alone. Around it move its keepers, its retinue, the many moons, like watchmen circling a great fortress, each one turning slowly through the dark, and the whole arrangement has a settledness to it, a sense of long practice, of a watch that has been kept so long that keeping it has become effortless. There is no strain in the guardian's stance. It does not brace itself against the dark. It simply is enormous, and being enormous, it holds without trying. The way a mountain holds without trying, the way the ground beneath your bed holds you now, without any effort at all. You are inside a system that has been keeping watch since before there were eyes to see it keeping watch. The watch does not depend on you. It does not falter when you sleep. Sleep then, and let it go on holding, as it has always held, as it will always hold, whether or not you are awake to know. So let us do something now that costs nothing and asks nothing, which is to imagine that you yourself are being carried out toward the giant, not falling, never falling, only drifting, slow and safe, the way a leaf is carried on the surface of a wide, unhurried river that has all the time in the world to reach the sea. You are not steering. You do not need to steer. Something patient has taken up your weight and is bearing you gently across the great dark distance, and all you have to do is lie back and let yourself be moved. Feel the letting go of it. Feel how good it is not to be the one who decides the direction. The current knows the way. You are only the leaf, turning slowly on the surface, watching the far lights swing by. At first there is only the deep and tender dark, and the stars in it, more stars than you could ever count, each one a faint, steady candle burning in a window impossibly far away. And the dark between them is not empty, and it is not cold, or rather the cold cannot reach you here, wrapped as you are in the warmth of your own restful body. You drift. The sun, behind you now, has shrunk to a single bright star among the rest, no longer a fire in the sky but only the brightest of the candles, and its light out here is thin and pale and does not warm, and yet you are warm. Because warmth is something you have brought with you, folded around you like a blanket that no distance can take away. You drift on, unhurried, over the great river of the dark. And slowly, ahead of you, one of the lights begins to grow. It is not a star. It does not twinkle. It holds steady, and it swells, patiently, as the current bears you nearer, and it takes on color. A warm, banded amber, cream and rust and pale gold laid down in wide horizontal stripes, and you understand, without any alarm, that this is the giant, and that you are being carried toward it. There is no fear in the approach. The giant does not lunge. It simply grows, filling more and more of the dark ahead, until it is no longer a light in the sky, but the sky itself. A vast turning wall of tender color that fills your whole field of view from edge to edge and then past every edge, so wide that you cannot take it in, so wide that looking at it is like looking at the sea, a thing too large to hold in the mind, and so the mind stops trying and simply rests. You are close now, but the current holds you at the safe distance, out on the gentle slope, and it turns you slowly so that you drift alongside the great banded face rather than down into it. And from here you can see the storms, those wide horizontal rivers of cloud, each one turning against the next, cream sliding over rust, gold shearing past amber, in a slow and endless churning that has no anger in it from this height. Only motion, only the patient turning of enormous weather that has been turning since long before the first living thing drew breath. You could watch it forever. It asks nothing of you. It does not know you are there, and there is a deep relief in that, in being small enough and far enough that the giant does not notice you, does not need anything from you, does not so much as register your passing. You are perfectly safe precisely because you do not matter to it. Its work is not with you. Its work is with the dark behind you, the wandering stones, the falling comets, and it does that work whether you watch or not. Let yourself drift there a while, alongside the turning wall of soft color, carried by the patient current, held at the safe and tender distance, warm inside the blanket of your own body. There is nowhere you have to be. There is nothing you have to do. The great storms turn and turn and turn, and their turning is a kind of lullaby older than any words, the oldest weather in the solar system rocking you slowly towards sleep. And when you are ready, though there is no hurry, the current will bear you onward again, past the giant, along its gentle slope, and you will feel it carrying you the way it has carried you all along, without effort, without direction from you, asking only that you continue to let go. Drift, you are being carried. You have been being carried all along. Now let us turn our slow attention to the radiation, because it is one of the fiercest of the giant's dangers, and yet even here, when we look closely, we find the same tender pattern hidden inside the menace. Jupiter is wrapped in a magnetic field so vast and so strong that if you could see it with your eyes, it would spread across the night sky larger than the full moon. Larger by far, a shimmering invisible cloak reaching millions of miles out into space in every direction. This field is generated deep in the heart of the giant, in that strange shining ocean of metallic hydrogen we spoke of earlier, stirred into slow, enormous currents by the planet's rapid spin. For Jupiter turns quickly despite its size, faster than any other planet, a full day there lasting less than 10 of our hours, and that swift turning of a metal sea deep within is what raises the great magnetic cloak that surrounds it. Now that cloak catches particles, endless streams of tiny charged fragments thrown out by the sun and gathered from the giant's own moons, and it whips them around at tremendous speeds, and it holds them in great glowing belts that circle the planet, and those belts are deadly, so deadly that no living thing could pass through them and survive, so deadly that even the sturdy machines we send must be wrapped in thick shielding and must hurry through the worst of it, lest their delicate minds be scrambled by the storm of particles. This is a real danger, one of the harshest in the solar system. And yet consider what that same cloak does, what that same fierce magnetic embrace means for the moons and the worlds that shelter within its reach. A magnetic field is not only a trap, it is also a shelter, deflecting the ceaseless wind of particles that streams outward from the sun, turning it aside, carving out a great calm cavity in the flow, a pocket of relative quiet in the endless gale. The very field that concentrates danger in its belts also sweeps vast regions clear, and there is, in this, one more echo of our night's single truth. The fiercest thing is also, seen from the proper angle, a form of keeping. I want you to think for a moment about your own small shelters, the ordinary ones, because the giant's cloak is only the same idea written across the sky. Think of the roof over you now, holding off the weather you cannot even hear. Think of the walls that keep the night air out and the warmth in. Think of the blanket that traps the heat your own body makes and returns it to you, so that you lie in a small pocket of warmth carved out of a cold world. A calm cavity in the gale, exactly as the giant carves its calm cavity in the solar wind. You have always lived inside shelters within shelters, the blanket within the room within the house, within the thin sweet air of the whole earth, within the great swept region that the giant helps to keep clear. Layer upon layer of keeping, each one holding off a little more of the dark, and you at the warm center of all of them, needing to tend none of them, needing only to rest inside the keeping that others and the giant and the whole patient arrangement of things have raised around you. And here the guardian at the gate takes on one more feature, one more curve to its great and patient form. The shield does not only stop the hard falling stones, it also turns aside the endless thin wind, the ceaseless invisible weather of particles that would otherwise scour everything it touched. The guardian stands in that wind and breaks it, the way a great rock in a river breaks the current and leaves a pool of tranquil water in its lee. And it is in that lee, in that sheltered pool, in that swept and quieted place that the small tender worlds are able to endure. You live in the lee of something enormous. You have always lived in the lee of something enormous. The wind you never feel is the truest measure of how well you are kept. Rest in the peace of the lee. It was made for you, though it does not know your name. Let us descend now, slowly and without any fear, into the giant itself, because the question of what lies beneath those turning clouds is one of the most peaceful mysteries in all of astronomy, and to wonder about it is a fine soft thing to do as you drift. Jupiter has no surface. There is no ground there, no shore, no solid place where sky meets land. If you were to sink into it, and you cannot, and you will not, but if you could, in imagination only, you would find no moment where you struck anything. The clouds at the top are thin and cold, wisps of ammonia ice catching the pale distant sunlight, and as you sank you would pass through them into deeper hazes, and the pressure around you would grow, and the temperature would rise, and the thin cold air would slowly thicken into something denser, and denser still. The gas pressing closer around you by degrees so gradual that there would never be a single edge to cross, only an endless smooth deepening, the way the sea deepens beneath a diver. Blue giving way to darker blue, giving way to black. Down and down the imagination goes, and the gas grows thick as syrup, thick as stone, and yet still there is no surface, only the gradual transformation of the giant substance from something like air into something like liquid, so slowly, so smoothly, that you could never say precisely where the change occurred. And deeper still, unimaginably deep, in the heart of the giant, is that strange shining ocean we have spoken of, the metallic hydrogen, a sea that is not quite liquid and not quite solid, and not quite anything we have a name for, turning in slow enormous currents, generating the great cloak that guards the moons. And at the very center, perhaps, a core, dense and warm, the ancient seed around which the whole giant gathered itself so long ago. No one has ever seen it. No one ever will. It is one of the last truly hidden places, sealed away beneath thousands of miles of cloud and gas and shining metal sea, a secret the giant keeps and will always keep. There is something restful in a mystery that will never be solved, something that gives the mind permission to stop. You do not have to know what is at the center of Jupiter. No one has to. It is allowed to remain unknown, sealed and dark and untroubled. And the not knowing takes nothing from you. In fact, it gives you something, a small permission to lay down the endless effort of figuring out, the constant low labor of the waking mind that always wants to solve and settle and pin things into place. Here is a thing that cannot be pinned into place, and the sky is none the worse for it, and neither are you. Let there be, in your drifting mind, one great thing you will never understand, sealed away and turning slowly in the dark, asking nothing of your understanding. Let it be enough simply to know that it is there. And notice, as we linger in the giant's depths, that the descent itself was never violent. The imagination did not strike anything. It only sank, smoothly through gradual deepening, the way you are sinking now, by slow degrees, from the thin, bright surface of wakefulness, down through hazier and softer layers toward the warm, dark center of sleep. There is no edge you must cross. There is no moment where you fall. There is only the gradual thickening of rest around you, the slow, sweet deepening, each breath carrying you a little further down into the quiet. No surface anywhere to strike, nothing to jar you, only the endless, gentle descent through softer and softer layers toward a center you do not need to reach and do not need to name. Sink the way the imagination sank into the giant, smoothly, without fear. Down, and down, and down. Let us rise back up now, out of the depths, and think for a while about the great oval storm, the one the old watchers named and watched across their whole lives, because there is a lesson in it that is very kind to a restless mind. This storm is larger than our entire world. It has been turning, as far as anyone can tell, for centuries, and quite possibly far longer, a single tempest that has outlasted empires, outlasted languages, outlasted every human structure now standing. And here is the strange, soothing truth of it. A storm that large and that long-lived is not, from a great distance, frightening at all. It does not rage in the way a small storm rages. It turns with a vast and stately slowness, its winds sweeping around and around in a motion so broad that from far enough away it looks almost still. A single deep red eye gazing out from the banded face of the giant, patient and unhurried and utterly without malice. Think of what it means for a storm to last that long. Every storm you have ever known on Earth is a brief and passing thing, born in an afternoon, spent by evening, gone by morning, and we call them violent because they arrive and depart so quickly, all their force crammed into a few hurried hours. But a storm that has turned for centuries has forgotten how to hurry. It has become something else. Something closer to a feature of the landscape than an event. A permanent slow eddy in the great river of the giant's weather, as settled and enduring as a mountain range. There is nothing frantic in it. There is only the deep, slow turning, around and around, the same motion repeated for so long that it has become a kind of stillness, the way a spinning top, spinning fast enough and long enough, seems to stand perfectly still. Let your own turning thoughts slow to that pace. Let them turn so slowly, so smoothly, so endlessly, that they too become a kind of stillness, a settled eddy in the dark, going nowhere, harming nothing, simply turning. and turning and gradually growing still. And I will tell you something tender about this great storm, which is that it may not last forever, and that this too is somehow a comfort. For in recent times, those who watch it closely have noticed that it is slowly shrinking, growing a little rounder, a little smaller than the watchers of a century ago recorded. Nothing is truly permanent, not even the longest storm in the solar system. Even it, in its own vast slow time, is winding down, gentling, drawing itself inward towards some far distant quiet, and there is peace in that as well, in knowing that even the greatest turning things eventually ease, eventually soften, eventually come to rest. Nothing is asked to turn forever, not the storm, not the giant, not you. Everything, in its own time, is allowed to grow still. The great red eye is closing, slowly, across ages, and there is no sorrow in it, only the deep natural rightness of a thing that has turned long enough, finally beginning to rest. Here the guardian at the gate stands quietly in the background of these thoughts, unbothered by its own great storm, wearing the centuries-long tempest the way an old mountain wears its weather, without strain, without complaint. The shield is not a smooth and featureless thing. It is marked and banded and storm-crossed, scarred here and there by the comets it has caught, wearing its long history openly across its great face. And yet, none of that history troubles it. It holds the gate just as steadily whether its storms are large or small, whether its face is bruised by a recent impact or smoothed by the passing centuries. Its keeping does not depend on its being unmarked, neither does yours. You do not have to be smooth and unscarred to be worthy of rest. The guardian is covered in the marks of everything it has weathered, and it keeps the gate all the same, and you may rest behind it exactly as you are, marked by your own long weather, needing to smooth away nothing, needing only to lie here and be kept. Let us now let ourselves sink into the comfort of scale, which is perhaps the deepest comfort this whole subject has to offer, and one that the waking mind rarely lets itself feel. We are small. Beside the giant, beside its storms wider than worlds, beside its cloak that would fill the sky, beside its retinue of moons, we are so small as to be very nearly nothing at all. And the waking mind tends to flinch from that, tends to want to be large, to matter, to be counted. But lying here in the dark, sinking towards sleep, you are permitted to feel the other side of smallness, the side that is pure relief. To be small before something vast is to be excused from carrying it. To be small is to be held, rather than to hold. To be small is to be, at last, off duty, no longer the one on whom everything depends, no longer the one who must keep the great wheels turning, but only a small warm creature lying safe in the shelter of things far larger and far older and far more patient than yourself. Consider the distances, not to strain your mind, but to soothe it. The giant is so far away that its light, and it makes no light of its own but only reflects the sun's, takes the better part of an hour to reach us, crossing a gulf so wide that the fastest travelers we have ever built needed years to cross it. And beyond the giant, the distances only grow, on out to the ringed world and the pale ice giants and the cold scattered edges of the solar system. And beyond even those, the nearest other sun so far away that its light takes years and years to reach us. And beyond that sun, more suns, uncountable. And beyond them, whole other cities of suns, wheeling galaxies past number, out and out into a bigness that has no edge the mind can find. And you, in the middle of all that bigness, are lying in a small warm bed under a small quiet roof on a small blue world, and the sheer scale of everything around you is not a threat, but a vast soft cushion, an immensity so complete that it wraps entirely around your smallness and holds it, the way an ocean holds a single drop, the way the night holds a single sleeper. There is a particular peace that comes only from feeling genuinely small, and I want to give it to you fully tonight, because the waking world so rarely allows it. All day the world insists that you are large, that your choices matter enormously, that the weight of things rests on your shoulders, that you must decide and manage and carry and keep. And perhaps in the daylight, some of that is even true. But it is not true here. Here, in the dark, beside the giant, beneath the wheeling galaxies, you are returned to your true proportion, which is very, very small, and being returned to it is like setting down a pack you had carried so long you had forgotten you were carrying it. The bigness does not need you to hold it up. The giant does not need you to help it guard the gate. The galaxies do not need your attention to keep on turning. You are allowed, tonight, to be exactly as small as you truly are, and to feel in that smallness. Not fear, but the deepest imaginable rest. And notice that being small is precisely what makes the shelter possible. A thing large enough to shelter you must, by its nature, dwarf you, and so every shelter you have ever known has been a kind of largeness bending down over a kind of smallness. The roof over the sleeper, the parent over the child, the giant over the small blue world. To be sheltered is to be small beneath something larger, and there is no shame in it and no danger in it, only the oldest safety there is. So let yourself be small tonight. Let the giant be enormous, and let the galaxies be endless, and let yourself be the small warm thing at the center of all that keeping, needing to be nothing more, needing to hold nothing up, small and safe and perfectly, entirely held. Let us return to the deep question of what the giant has actually done for us across the long ages, because when astronomers speak of Jupiter as a protector, they are pointing at something specific and remarkable, and it is worth turning over slowly. In the early solar system, when everything was still forming, the giant grew first and grew fastest, and its enormous mass reached out and reshaped the paths of everything around it. It swept some regions clear and stirred others up, and where its influence fell, the smaller bodies were flung about, some hurled outward into the far cold reaches, some pulled inward, some cast entirely out of the solar system to wander the space between stars forever. And in all this flinging and clearing, the giant helped to shape the arrangement we now live inside, the arrangement in which the inner worlds, our own world among them, could form and settle and grow stable enough for slow, tender things like living creatures eventually to arise. There is a long-standing idea, debated and refined across many years by patient people, that a giant planet in the outer solar system may act as a kind of gravitational guardian for the smaller worlds within, catching or deflecting many of the comets and stray bodies that would otherwise come falling inward. The details are intricate and still argued over, as good ideas always are, and the giant is not a perfect shield, and it has surely sent some things inward as well as turning others away. But the broad shape of the idea has a deep intuitive rightness to it, and it is certainly true that we have watched the giant swallow comets whole, watched it take blows that might otherwise have fallen elsewhere. Whatever the precise accounting, we live in a solar system arranged around an enormous outer sentinel. And we, the small, soft inner worlds, have had a very long and very stable stretch of time in which to become what we are. Long enough for oceans to form. long enough for the first faint life to stir, long enough for that life to slowly, across unthinkable ages, become creatures who could look up and wonder at the very giant that had helped to make their wondering possible. Sit with that for a moment, softly, as you drift. The giant helped clear the way. The giant helped make the long, calm stretch of time in which everything you are was slowly assembled. Every ancestor you have ever had, back and back through the great chain of living things, through the first small creatures of the ancient seas, through the first faint stirrings in the warm early waters. All of them lived out their lives in the long protected calm that the outer sentinel helped to keep. You are the far end of an unbroken thread of lives, every one of them sheltered, every one of them held in the calm, and the thread runs all the way back to a time when the giant was already there, already turning, already standing its watch at the gate. You did not arrive in spite of the giant's danger. You arrived, in some real measure, because of it. The most dangerous planet is written into the very possibility of you. And so the guardian at the gate is revealed, at last, in its fullest form, not merely as something that protects you now, but as something that helped make you at all. The shield was raised before the first of your ancestors drew breath, and it has stood, turning slowly through every single life in that long chain, and it stands turning still tonight out there in the dark, while you, the newest link, the far bright end of the thread, lie safe and warm beneath its keeping. You were made in the calm it helped to hold. You have lived your whole life in the lee of it. And you will sleep tonight, as you have slept every night, behind the great patient shield that has never once, in all the long ages, stepped away from the gate. Rest in the knowledge that it is the oldest keeping you have ever known, older than your species, older than the seas, and that it does not falter, and it does not tire, and it does not need you awake to go on holding the dark at bay. Let us slow our pace even further now and consider the sound of the giant, or rather the way we have learned to listen to it, because there is a strange and lovely comfort in the idea of hearing a world that no ear could truly hear. Space itself carries no sound in the way our air does, and so the giant, for all its vast churning weather, turns in perfect silence, its storms wider than worlds raging without the smallest whisper reaching across the void. And yet the machines we sent to it carried instruments that could listen to the invisible fields and particles around it. And when the patient people back home took those measurements and translated them into tones that human ears could hear, they found that the giant, in its own strange way, sings, its magnetic field, sweeping through the streams of charged particles, produces slow, eerie rising and falling tones, whistles and moans and long, low hums, an unearthly music that no living thing was ever meant to hear, drifting out from the great banded world into the silence. I find something deeply peaceful in that, in the thought of a vast silent giant that nonetheless hums to itself out there in the dark, an enormous slow music that fills no air and reaches no ear, and yet goes on, endlessly, whether or not anyone is listening. It is the sound of the fields turning, the sound of the particles streaming, the sound of the great cloak flexing as the giant spins, all of it far below the pitch of any voice, a music of long, slow tones that seem to belong to a scale of time entirely unlike our own. Imagine those tones now, if it helps you drift, low and slow and rising and falling, without melody, without hurry, the deep, patient hum of a world simply being a world. Let it be the drone beneath your breathing. Let it hold a single long note under everything, the way the giant holds its watch, steady and endless and asking nothing. And there is a lesson even in the silence of it, even in the fact that all that vast weather rages without a sound. We tend to think that violence must be loud, that danger announces itself, that anything powerful enough to harm us would surely make some roar to warn us of its coming. But the giant's greatest storms are utterly silent, and the comets it catches fall without a whisper, and the whole enormous drama of the outer solar system plays out in a stillness so complete that if you were there to witness it, you would hear nothing at all. Only the sound of your own quiet breathing inside your suit. Only the small human sounds you had brought with you into the great hush. The silence out there is not empty, and it is not menacing. It is simply the natural state of things too large and too far apart to touch, and it is, in its way, the most restful silence there is. A silence you could sink into and never find the bottom of. A silence that has been keeping itself since long before there were ears to be disturbed by it. So let the silence of the giant become the silence of your room. And let the silence of your room become the silence of your slowing mind, until the three are one great quiet nested each inside the next. The hush of the void around the hush of the night, around the hush of you. There is nothing you must listen for. There is no sound coming that you need to catch. The guardian keeps its watch in silence, and its silence is not the silence of absence, but the silence of a thing so vast and so sure of itself that it has no need to make any sound at all. Rest in that certain silence. Let it hold you the way it holds the whole dark neighborhood of worlds, without a word, without a whisper, without asking anything of you but that you finally, at last, grow quiet too. Let us think for a while about the faint rings of the giant, because almost no one remembers that Jupiter has rings at all, and there is a soft, secret pleasure in dwelling on a thing so easily overlooked. When we picture a ringed planet, we picture the great bright hoops of the ringed world further out, those dazzling bands of ice that catch the sunlight and blaze across the dark. But the giant, too, wears rings, only its rings are dark and thin and faint, made not of bright ice but of fine dark dust, so delicate that we did not even know they were there until one of our patient travelers happened to look back toward the sun through them and saw them glowing faintly, lit from behind, like motes of dust caught in a beam of afternoon light slanting through a window. They are among the most modest ornaments in the solar system, so subtle that from most angles they cannot be seen at all, a whisper of dust circling the great banded world in the dark. And where does that dust come from, this faint circling veil? It comes, most likely, from the small inner moons, worlds too little to have names in most people's memories. Worlds forever pelted by the tiny stray fragments that fall through the giant's realm, and each small impact throws up a little puff of dust, and that dust, too fine to fall back, too light to escape, drifts out and spreads itself into a thin dark ring circling the world. So the rings are made of the slow patient wearing away of little moons, a tender, continual shedding, dust drifting out and settling into orbit, endlessly renewed as the little moons are endlessly worn. There is something almost tender in it, a world adorned not with jewels, but with the fine drift of its own small companions slowly giving themselves up. A faint, dark halo of dust that has no purpose and serves no function, and simply is, quietly, beautifully, circling in the dark, whether or not any eye will ever find it. I offer you these faint rings tonight precisely because they are so easy to overlook, because there is a deep rest in the things that ask for no attention, the unnoticed beauties that exist entirely for their own sake, or for no sake at all. The giant does not wear its rings to be admired. They circle it in the dark, dim and dusty, and almost invisible, and they would go on circling exactly the same whether or not a single eye had ever found them. And your rest tonight is a little like those rings, a quiet thing that asks for no witness, that needs no one to notice it, that simply happens, faintly, in the dark, for its own sake and no one else's. You do not have to sleep well for anyone. You do not have to rest impressively or notably or in any way that anyone will ever see. You may rest as faintly and as privately as the dust rings circle the giant, unwitnessed, unremarked, and no less real for it, no less lovely for it, turning quietly in your own small dark. And so even the faintest features of the guardian teach the same lesson, that the keeping does not need to be grand to be real, that the smallest and dimmest things partake of the same great patient turning. The shield at the gate is ringed with the soft drift of its own slow shedding, and it does not display this or announce it. It simply turns, adorned in the faint dust of its little moons, keeping its watch whether the rings are seen or not, whether anyone knows they are there or not. You may rest inside a keeping that makes no show of itself. You may sleep beneath a guardian that neither boasts nor demands. The watch is kept in the dark, quietly, faintly, endlessly, and you are free to sink into it without ever once being asked to notice how thoroughly you are held. Let us return once more to the moons, but to a different one this time, the fiery one, the world of endless volcanoes, because it holds a strange comfort of its own that is worth turning over slowly. This little moon, held close to the giant, is caught between the enormous pull of the giant on one side and the pull of the other large moons on the other, and as it circles it, is squeezed and released, flexed constantly by these competing tugs, kneaded like something in a baker's patient hands. And all that flexing makes heat, deep heat in the little world's rocky heart, so much heat that it forever spills up through the surface in fountains of molten rock and drifting plumes and lakes of glowing fire, the most volcanically alive place in the entire solar system. A world that never once cools, never once settles, forever remaking its own face in fire. You might think a world of endless volcanoes would be the least restful thing to dwell on as you drift toward sleep, and yet there is something in it, when you look closely, that soothes. For all that fire is not violence in the way we mean violence. It is warmth. It is a little world kept warm from within, never allowed to freeze, never allowed to grow cold and dead and still, forever tended by the patient flexing of the giant's pull. The same enormous force that could destroy this moon if it drew too near is the force that keeps it warm and living and awake, a hearth fire kept burning by the giant's steady hand. And is that not, in the end, a kind of care? To be kept warm, to be kept from freezing, to have a fire tended in your heart by something far larger than yourself, so that you never grow cold in the long dark. There are worse things to dwell on, drifting towards sleep, than the thought of a small world kept forever warm by a giant that never lets its fire go out. And you, too, are kept warm from within, are you not? By the slow, patient fire of your own living body, the faint heat your heart and breath and blood keep going all night long without any effort from you. You do not have to tend that fire. You do not have to remember to be warm. Deep in the heart of you, the slow, steady work goes on, the same work it has done every night of your life, keeping you warm, keeping you living, keeping you from growing cold and still, a fire tended by something wiser and more patient than your waking mind, something that has never once let the fire go out. Feel that warmth now, the warmth you make and keep without trying, gathered around you under the blanket, a small living hearth in the great cool dark, tended for you, always, whether you attend to it or not. The guardian at the gate, then, is not only a shield against the hard and falling things, it is also, in its way, a keeper of warmth, a giant whose very pull kindles fires in the hearts of the little worlds that circle it, keeping them from the deep cold, keeping them alive. The shield holds off the dark, yes, but it also, by its nearness, by its patient, endless tugging, tends the small fires within its keeping, so that the moons in its shelter are not frozen dead stones, but living, warm, glowing worlds. You are one of the warm ones, kept living in the shelter of something enormous, your small fire tended, your warmth held close, the dark pushed back, the cold kept out. Rest in the warmth of it. Let the giant tend your fire tonight the way it tends the fires of its moons, patiently, endlessly, asking nothing, letting you simply be warm. Let us think now about time and the giant's slow, long relationship with it, because there is a rest that comes from stepping out of our own hurried clock and into the vast unhurried clock of the giant. A year on Jupiter, a single trip around the sun, takes nearly 12 of our years. Think of that. In the time it takes the giant to complete one single circuit, a human child is born and grows and learns to walk and speak and read and becomes almost a young adult. 1 year, for the giant, is the whole of a childhood for us, and the giant has completed not one such year, but hundreds of millions of them, circling and circling the sun through unimaginable stretches of time, patient beyond any patience we can feel, turning through the long dark on a clock so slow that our whole recorded history would be, to it, the merest handful of its enormous years. There is something that quiets the restless mind in the contemplation of such slowness. Our own days feel so urgent, so full, each hour crowded with things that seem, in the moment, to matter enormously. But held against the giant's slow clock, against its 12-year seasons and its centuries-long storms, and its hundreds of millions of patient circuits, the frantic urgency of a single human day softens into almost nothing. A flicker, a breath, a thing too small and too swift for the giant even to notice. And this is not diminishing. It is freeing, for if your urgent day is that small against the giant's clock, then the worries of the day are that small as well, and the things you did not finish, and the words you wish you had said, and the small failures and frictions of the waking hours, all of them shrink down to the size of a flicker against the vast slow turning of the giant, and you may set them all down tonight. And let them be as small as they truly are. Let your own sense of time slow then to something nearer the giant's pace. Let the frantic ticking of the day's clock, still perhaps running somewhere in the back of your mind, gradually wind down, gradually stretch out, gradually lengthen, until the seconds grow long and soft, and there is no hurry left in them at all. There is nowhere you must be by any particular moment. There is no hour approaching that you must be ready for. The night stretches out ahead of you as long and slow and patient as one of the giant's enormous years, and you may take all of it, every unhurried moment of it, to sink down into rest, with no clock hurrying you, no schedule pressing at you, nothing but the vast, slow, patient turning of a giant that has all the time in all the world and has never once been in a hurry to be anywhere at all. And the guardian at the gate has stood its watch across all that slow time, through hundreds of millions of its patient years, never hurrying, never tiring, never once glancing at any clock. It does not keep the gate in a rush. It keeps it slowly, endlessly, at the pace of ages, and there is nothing frantic in its keeping, nothing anxious, nothing hurried. It simply turns and watches and holds on a timescale so vast that a whole human life passes in the space between its seasons. You may borrow that slowness tonight. You may let the guardian's enormous, unhurried clock become your own, so that your breathing slows to its pace, and your thoughts slow to its pace, and the whole frantic hurry of your day dissolves into the deep, slow patience of a thing that has kept its watch since long before you were born, and will keep it long after, without ever once being in any hurry at all. Let us take another slow imagined journey now, a different one, in which you do not drift past the giant but hover above it, held safely aloft, looking down upon its churning face from just close enough to see the weather move. You are held there, without effort, without any craft you must pilot, simply suspended above the great banded world, and beneath you the storms turn. And you may watch them the way you might watch clouds pass on a warm afternoon, with no purpose, no aim, nothing to do but let your eyes follow the slow motion of enormous weather. The bands slide past one another, cream over amber, rust beside gold, and at their boundaries the clouds curl and swirl into great slow eddies, spinning wheels of vapor larger than continents, turning so slowly that you could watch a single one for hours and hardly see it change. And the colors, oh, the colors are worth dwelling on as you sink, for they are soft and warm and endlessly varied, the whole face of the giant painted in shades of cream and honey and amber, and rust and pale rose and deep brick red, colors that shift and blend at their edges, colors laid down by chemistry we only partly understand. Strange compounds cooked up in the deep clouds and lofted to the surface to catch what little sunlight reaches so far from the sun. It is a warm palette, an autumn palette. The colors of dried grasses and old wood and banked embers and late afternoon light, and to gaze upon it is to feel the same soft warmth you feel gazing into a low fire or out across a field in the long slanting light of evening. Let those warm colors fill your inner eye now, the honeys and the ambers and the soft brick reds sliding slowly past one another, warm and unhurried, as you sink further and further down toward sleep. You hover, and you watch, and there is nothing that needs watching, no danger you must catch, no change you must track, only the endless slow turning of warm-colored weather beneath you, hypnotic in its slowness, soothing in its warmth. And you notice that the longer you watch, the slower everything seems to move, or perhaps it is only that you yourself are slowing, sinking, your attention loosening its grip, the great turning bands blurring softly at their edges, the warm colors bleeding gently into one another, until it is no longer quite weather you are watching, but only warmth and slow motion and soft color. A drifting wash of amber and cream that asks nothing of your eyes and lets them, at last, grow heavy and heavier and begin to close. Let them close. There is nothing you will miss. The storms will turn on whether you watch them or not. The warm colors will slide past one another through the whole long night, and the guardian will keep its watch above you and below you and all around you, needing no witness, needing no waking eye. You have hovered long enough. You have watched enough warm weather turn. Now you may let yourself sink down from your hovering down through the soft warm light, down past the churning bands, not into the giant, never into it, but into your own bed, your own dark, your own deep and welcome rest, carried there by the same patient hand that has held you aloft all along, set down as softly as a leaf settling at last upon calm water. Let us consider now the machines we have sent to keep company with the giant, the patient travelers, because their stories are quiet and moving and full of a certain tenderness that suits the deepening night. To reach the giant, a traveler must cross a gulf so wide that the journey takes years, and for all those years, the little machine drifts alone through the dark, colder and colder as it leaves the sun behind, powered by the faint trickle of energy it carries within, faithfully keeping its instruments alive, faithfully holding its course, faithfully waiting for the day, still years away, when the giant will at last swell from a point of light into a world. There is something almost devotional in it, this long, patient, solitary crossing, undertaken by a small machine that cannot feel loneliness and yet somehow, when we think of it, moves us as though it could. And when at last the traveler arrives, when the giant fills its sky, it does not rest. It has work to do, and it does that work with a hushed diligence, swinging into the deadly belts of radiation, hurrying through the worst of them, gathering what it can in the brief windows when its instruments can bear the storm, then swinging out again to safer distances to send home everything it has learned. Some of these travelers have circled the giant for years, patiently looping in and out, gathering the slow accumulation of knowledge, and some, at the end of their long labor, when their fuel ran low and their instruments began to fail, were sent deliberately down into the giant itself, plunging at last into the endless clouds, ending their long service in a final bright descent into the world they had come so far to study. And there is no sorrow in that ending, only a kind of completion, a traveler laying down its long task at last, dissolving into the very thing it had faithfully attended, coming home, in a sense, to the giant it had circled for so long. I offer you these patient travelers tonight because their faithfulness is restful to dwell on, this idea of a small thing crossing an enormous dark, alone, uncomplaining, holding its course for years toward a distant purpose, and then, its work complete, letting go, sinking down into rest. Is that not a little like the passage of a single day into sleep? You too have crossed a long stretch, from the bright morning through the crowded hours to this dark, quiet edge of the night, holding your course, doing your work. And now, at last, your work is complete, and you may let go and sink down, not into any giant, but into the deep welcome clouds of your own sleep, your long days crossing over, your task laid down, your descent as soft and as final and as free of sorrow as the traveler's homecoming into the amber dark. And all the while the travelers did their patient work, the guardian simply was, enormous and unbothered, receiving their attention with the same indifference it receives everything, letting itself be studied, letting itself be circled, letting itself, at the end, receive the traveler's home into its clouds. The guardian does not need to be understood to keep the gate. It kept the gate perfectly well through all the long ages before any traveler ever crossed to study it, and it will keep the gate long after the last traveler has fallen silent. Our knowing of it adds nothing to its keeping and takes nothing from it. It simply holds the watch, as it always has, whether studied or unstudied, whether known or unknown, and you may rest behind it tonight, without needing to understand a single thing about it, held by a keeping that has never once depended on being understood. Let us dwell for a while on the aurorae of the giant, the great curtains of light that hang above its poles, because they are among the most beautiful things in the solar system, and almost no one has ever heard of them. On our own world, when the streams of particles from the sun are funneled down by our magnetic field toward the poles, they strike the high air and set it glowing in faint shifting sheets of green and rose, the northern and southern lights, and those who have seen them speak of them ever after in hushed tones, as of something holy. The giant has aurorae too, but the giant's aurorae are vastly larger and vastly brighter, permanent curtains of glowing light hanging above its poles, fed not only by the sun but by the giant's own moons and its own enormous spinning field, so that above the great banded world there hang, always, ovals of shifting radiance, larger than our entire planet, glowing in colors that reach beyond what our eyes can see. Imagine hovering above the pole of the giant now, in the dark, looking down upon that great oval of light, a ring of soft radiance encircling the top of the world, shifting and rippling, brightening and fading, fed by invisible streams of particles pouring down out of the dark and striking the high, thin air and setting it aglow. It is silent, of course, all of it silent, this vast curtain of light rippling above the pole without a sound, and it does not flicker frantically, but shifts slowly, breathing almost, brightening and dimming in long, slow waves, a great glowing ring of tranquil fire hanging in the eternal dark above the world. There are few sights we can imagine more peaceful, and it is real. It is there, right now, glowing above the poles of the giant, whether or not any eye has ever seen it, a permanent, slow curtain of light in the dark. And notice that even this beauty is born of the danger, is born of the very radiation and the very fierce field that would harm you if you drew too near. The particles that would scramble a machine's mind funnel down toward the poles, become instead this tender, slow, glowing curtain, this ring of tranquil light. The danger, gathered and funneled and given somewhere to go, becomes beauty. It is the same pattern we have traced all night, the menace and the mercy inseparable, the very thing that threatens transformed, by nothing more than where it falls, into the loveliest of gifts. Let that be a comfort as you drift. The hard things, given somewhere to go, funneled gently down and away, can become light. The dangers, held at the proper distance and pointed toward the poles, can become beauty. Nothing has to be only its worst self. Everything, seen from the right angle, funneled toward the right place, holds some serene glowing possibility folded up inside it. So the guardian at the gate wears crowns of light above its poles, great slow shining rings woven from the very dangers it holds at bay, and it does not flaunt them, and it does not hide them. It simply wears them, quietly, in the dark, as it keeps its endless watch. The shield is crowned in tender light made from the hard things it turns aside, and there is a deep rightness in that. In a keeper whose very keeping produces beauty, whose defense against the dark glows softly at its own edges. You rest tonight beneath a crowned guardian, a keeper adorned in low light, and the light it wears is made from the very perils it holds away from you, transformed, gentled, funneled harmlessly down into radiance. Let the crowns of tender light hang above you as you sink, glowing slowly in the dark, silent, beautiful, and utterly without threat. The danger turned all the way over into its opposite, into something that only shines. Let us think now about the giant's place in the wider family of stars, because it turns out that worlds like Jupiter are common across the galaxy. And there is a strange companionship in that thought that suits the deepening quiet, When astronomers first began to find planets circling other suns, far away in the dark, the very first ones they found were giants like ours, great worlds of gas swinging around distant stars, because the giants are the easiest to see, the largest, the most massive, the ones whose pull tugs most visibly at their suns. And so the first news we ever had of worlds beyond our own solar system was again and again news of giants, of enormous banded worlds circling faraway lights, a whole galaxy sprinkled, it turns out, with kin to our own great guardian. There is companionship in that, in knowing that our giant is not alone, not a strange singular monster, but one of a vast family of giants scattered across the dark, each one circling its own sun, each one perhaps keeping its own watch over whatever smaller worlds may huddle within its reach. Across the galaxy, in numbers past counting, great banded worlds turn slowly around distant stars, and some of them, perhaps, shelter small warm worlds of their own. Small worlds where, who knows, other small tender sleepers may one night lie beneath other ceilings, kept safe by their own enormous guardians, drifting toward their own rest beneath their own crowns of slow light. We do not know. We may never know. But the possibility is a warm one. The thought that the pattern we have traced tonight, the giant that guards, the shield at the gate, might be written not only into our own sky, but into skies past number, across the whole vast dark. And this is one more turning of the night's single truth, that the thing which first seemed most alien, most other, most monstrous, turns out to be among the most common and most familiar things in all the galaxy, a thing our sky shares with countless other skies, a thing that binds our small corner of the dark to every other corner where a giant turns. The most dangerous planet is also, in a sense, the most companionable, the most kindred, the one feature of our sky we are most likely to find echoed around any distant sun we care to look toward. We are not strange. We are not alone in our arrangement. We live, like so many others must, in the shelter of a giant, and the whole galaxy, it seems, is full of such shelters, full of such giants, full, perhaps, of such small sleepers drifting off beneath them into the dark. So as you sink towards sleep tonight, you may hold, if you like, the soft companionable thought that you are one of perhaps countless sleepers across the galaxy resting in the lee of a giant, that the guardian at your own gate has brothers and sisters past number, keeping their own watches around their own distant suns, and that the whole vast dark is not empty and not cold, but salted everywhere. With these enormous patient keepers, standing their watches, holding their gates, sheltering whatever small warm things have gathered in their lee, you are part of a pattern older and wider than you can imagine. A pattern of smallness sheltered by bigness, of tender things kept by hard ones, of sleepers held safe beneath giants, repeated across the galaxy in numbers past counting. Rest inside that pattern. You belong to it. You are held by it. And it is everywhere. Let us return, gently, to the idea of danger itself and turn it over one last slow time, because the whole night has been an argument, of the softest kind, against being afraid. We began by calling Jupiter the most dangerous planet, and everything we have said has confirmed it. Its gravity would crush you. Its radiation would end you. Its pressure would flatten you. Its storms are wider than worlds, and its cold is beyond imagining, and there is no ground anywhere on it where a living thing could ever stand. All of that is true, and none of it has been softened away. And yet, across the whole long night, that danger has kept turning, again and again, into something else, into shelter, into warmth, into beauty, into the very possibility of your own existence, until it becomes almost impossible to hold the danger and the mercy apart, until they reveal themselves as two names for one single thing. And this, I think, is the deepest comfort the giant has to offer, deeper even than the shelter, deeper even than the warmth. It is the discovery that danger and protection are not opposites at all, that the most fearsome things and the most sheltering things are, so often, precisely the same things, seen from a different distance, pointed in a different direction. The gravity that crushes is the gravity that guards. The field that kills is the field that shelters. The storms that terrify are the storms that turn, from far enough away, into a slow and hypnotic peace. Nothing about the giant had to be made less dangerous in order to become a comfort. It only had to be seen truly, from the right distance, out on the gentle slope, from the safe and tender remove where you have stood all along without ever knowing it. And perhaps, drifting here at the edge of sleep, you can let that softening reach a little further, past the giant, into the ordinary dangers of your own small life. Perhaps some of the things that have frightened you, some of the great looming shapes at the edges of your own days, are also, seen from the right distance, not only dangers but also, somehow, keepers, shields, shelters, the hard necessary things that have shaped and guarded the tender life growing in their lee. You do not have to work this out tonight. You do not have to decide anything about it. It is only a soft possibility to carry down into sleep with you, the possibility that the looming things are not only what they seem, that the guardian and the monster are one, that the very size of what frightens you might be, from the proper distance, exactly the size of what keeps you safe. For the guardian at the gate was always both. It was always the most dangerous thing in the neighborhood, and the most protective, at once, inseparably. The two truths folded into one enormous turning form, and you have rested behind it all along, your whole life, never once needing to resolve the paradox, never once needing to decide whether it was monster or keeper, because it did not matter, because it kept the gate all the same. Let the paradox rest unresolved tonight, as it has rested unresolved for billions of years. Let the giant be dangerous, and let the giant be your protector, and let both be true at once. And let yourself sink down into rest behind the great turning shield that has never once, in all the long ages, needed you to understand it in order to keep you safe. Let us drift back once more into the deep past, to the making of the whole solar system, because there is a great slow peace in the story of how order settled out of chaos, and it is a fine thing to hold as sleep draws near. In the beginning there was only a vast cloud, a turning cloud of gas and dust adrift in the dark, and something, perhaps the far-off shudder of a dying star, set it collapsing inward upon itself, and as it collapsed it spun faster and flattened. The way a spinning ball of dough flattens into a disk beneath a baker's turning hands, until it became a great, slowly turning platter of matter with a bright, thickening heart at its center. That heart, gathering more and more, growing hotter and denser, at last grew hot enough to light, and became the sun, and around it, the flattened platter went on turning, and out of that turning platter the worlds began, grain by grain, to gather themselves. It was not quick, and it was not tidy. For long ages the young solar system was a place of collision and accretion, of small bodies sticking together and being shattered apart and sticking together again, of a slow patient sorting in which the heavier stuff settled near the warm center and the lighter stuff drifted out toward the cold edges, and out of all that slow sorting the worlds we know took shape. The small rocky worlds near the sun, the great gas giants further out where it was cold enough for their vast atmospheres to gather. The giant grew first and grew largest, out where the ice was, gathering an enormous bulk of gas around its early core, and as it grew it began to shepherd everything around it, and slowly, over hundreds of millions of years, the wild early chaos settled into the stately ordered arrangement we live inside today. The planets each in their lane, the whole system turning smoothly, the long violence at last giving way to the long calm. There is such peace in that arc, from chaos to order, from collision to calm, from the wild bombarded youth of the solar system to the deep settled peace of its age. Everything that is turbulent, it seems to say, is also, given time enough, on its way to becoming still. The wild early solar system, all fire and collision, has become this quiet ordered clockwork, turning so smoothly and so reliably that we can predict its motions centuries in advance. And your own mind, perhaps a little wild still at the edges of the day, a little turbulent, a little full of collision, is also on its way, tonight, from that chaos toward this calm, settling, sorting, the heavy worries drifting down and away, the whole turning platter of your thoughts slowly flattening, slowly ordering, slowly coming to rest, until what was wild becomes, at last, as smooth and settled and quiet as the ordered turning of the ancient sky. And through all of that long settling, the Guardian was there, one of the very first things to form, helping to sort the chaos, helping to sweep the lanes, helping to turn the wild young system toward its long calm. The Guardian is older than the order it helped to make. It stood at the gate before there was a gate to stand at, gathering the wildness, shepherding the debris, turning collision toward calm. And it stands there still, at the far edge of the settled system it helped to settle, keeping the long calm it once helped to win. You live inside the peace it made. You are sinking, now, into the deepest pocket of that peace, the hushed still center of a system that took hundreds of millions of years to grow this calm, and that has stayed this calm, in no small part, because a great Guardian took up its watch at the gate before the calm had even begun, and has never once, in all the ages since, set that watch down. Let us rest now in one last long image before we begin to draw the night toward its close, the image of the whole neighborhood at peace, seen all at once, from very far away. Imagine drawing back, further and further, until the giant shrinks to a bright point again, and the small worlds shrink to fainter points, and the sun itself becomes only one warm light among the scattered dark, and you can see the whole arrangement at once, the small warm inner worlds gathered near the sun, and out beyond them the great Guardian and its kin, and out beyond those the cold quiet edges, all of it turning slowly together, all of it held in the sun's soft gravity, a single great turning wheel of worlds adrift in the immense and tender dark. It is so quiet from this distance. It is so orderly. It is so deeply, unshakably at peace. And somewhere on one of those small, warm inner points of light, too small to see from here, is a room. And in the room is a bed. And in the bed is you, sinking now toward sleep, held safe at the serene warm center of that whole vast turning arrangement, guarded by the giant, warmed by the sun, cradled by the soft air of your own small world, tucked beneath your own quiet roof, wrapped in your own warm blanket, needing nothing, holding nothing, doing nothing at all but breathing slowly in the dark. The whole enormous machinery of the heavens, the giant and its watch, the sun and its warmth, the long calm won across hundreds of millions of years, all of it turns on, quietly, around you, for you, without asking a single thing of you, while you do the one thing you were always, in the end, meant to do at the close of a long day, which is simply to rest. There is nowhere safer than where you are. There is nothing you must do. The watch is kept. The gate is held. The fire in your heart is tended. The dark is pushed gently back on every side by shelter within shelter within shelter. The blanket and the room and the roof and the air and the great swept calm and the giant far out at the gate, layer upon patient layer of keeping, all of them holding, all of them steady, all of them asking nothing of you, but that you let yourself, at last, be held. So let yourself be held. Let the whole turning arrangement of the heavens do its ancient patient work, while you lie still at the warm heart of it, small and safe, and kept and free at last of every burden, sinking softly down toward the deep and welcome dark. Let us linger a little longer, in no hurry at all, on the simple wonder of the giants' 4 great moons, and let their names and natures wash over you like a slow, familiar litany, the kind of list a tired mind can follow half asleep, needing to remember none of it. There is the fiery one, closest in, forever remade in molten rock, glowing with 100 volcanoes, warmed to burning by the giant's endless kneading. There is the ice one, sheathed in a smooth pale shell, cracked across with long faint lines, hiding beneath its frozen crust that vast dark untroubled sea. There is the great one, largest moon in all the solar system, larger than the smallest planet, wrapped in its own faint magnetism. A world nearly grand enough to have been a planet in its own right. And there is the ancient one, dark and heavily cratered, keeping in its battered face the long, slow record of every stone that has ever fallen through the giant's realm. 4 worlds, circling one giant, each so different from the others, each turning in its own patient orbit, and all of them held, all of them kept, all of them sheltered in the great low valley of the giant's pull. And the wonder of it, the thing that quiets the mind, is that all 4 of these worlds were entirely unknown to every human being who ever lived until only 4 centuries ago. And now we know their faces, their weathers, their hidden seas, and yet they were always there, turning in the dark, whether anyone knew them or not. For billions of years the fiery one burned, and the ice one hid its sea, and the great one turned, and the ancient one gathered its scars, and no eye anywhere had ever seen them, and it made no difference at all to their patient turning. There is such rest in that, in the thought of things that simply are, faithfully, endlessly, whether or not anyone knows them, whether or not anyone is watching, whether or not anyone is awake. The moons do not need your attention to keep their orbits. The giant does not need your wakefulness to keep its watch. You may close your eyes and let the whole faithful arrangement turn on without you, exactly as it turned for the billions of years before you opened your eyes at all. So let the 4 moons circle in your drifting mind, slow and faithful. The fiery one and the ice one and the great one and the ancient one, turning and turning around the giant, and let their circling be the last slow motion your mind follows before it lets go of motion altogether. Round and round they go, in their patient endless orbits, warmed and held and sheltered by the giant, needing nothing, asking nothing, simply turning in the dark, as they have turned since before there was anyone to see them, as they will turn long after tonight is forgotten. Follow them round, and round, and let each circuit carry you a little deeper, a little further down, a little closer to the deep, tranquil center of sleep, until the circling itself grows faint and soft and far away, and there is only the dark and the warmth and the great patient keeping, and you, at last, at rest. Let us take one final slow wandering through the giant's weather before we begin to close the night, because there is no better lullaby than enormous slow weather, and the giant has more of it than any world we know. Think of the winds there, winds that blow at hundreds of miles an hour, and yet, because they blow so steadily and across such enormous distances, seem from far away to move with a vast unhurried grace, great rivers of air circling the whole world in bands that never stop and never start, but simply flow, on and on in the same directions they have flowed for as long as anyone has watched. There is no gust there, no sudden squall, no weather that arrives and departs the way ours does. There is only the steady, endless flowing of the bands, cream flowing one way, amber flowing the other, a permanent circulation as reliable and as soothing as the rise and fall of a sleeper's breath. And where the bands meet and shear against one another, there the great slow eddies form, the storms, the swirling wheels of cloud, some small, some large, some, like the great red one, enormous and centuries old, all of them turning slowly at the boundaries of the flowing bands, spun up by the shear and then turning, for years or decades or centuries before at last they unwind and fade. It is a weather without malice, a weather that simply is, that flows and turns and swirls according to the deep patient rules of moving air on a spinning world, indifferent, enormous, and, from the safe distance where you drift, utterly serene. Let it be the last landscape your mind wanders before sleep, this endless flowing banded weather, these slow turning storms, this vast serene circulation that has flowed without pause since long before you were born. Breathe with the bands now, slow and steady, in with one flowing band and out with the next. Your breath as steady and as endless and as unhurried as the giant's great circling winds, needing no effort, arriving and departing on its own, flowing on through the dark whether you attend to it or not, in and out. Slow as the amber bands, steady as the endless winds. And with each slow breath, let a little more of you flow away into the dark, a little more weight given up, a little more holding let go, until you are as light and as flowing and as free of effort as the winds of the giant, circling on and on through the peaceful dark, turning slowly towards sleep. And so, as the night draws toward its close, let us gather up, one last slow time, everything we have wandered through, not to remember it, never to remember it, only to let it wash over you once more like a warm tide going out. Tonight has been about the largest planet in our solar system, the giant whose danger is its mercy. Tonight has been about size, the almost unimaginable bigness of a world that could hold 1,300 Earths, and how bigness itself becomes a shelter. Tonight has been about gravity, the deep low valley in space that catches the falling stones before they can reach us. Tonight has been about the long, slow story of noticing, the tired man with his little tube on a cold winter's night, watching 4 small lights dance beside a bright point and understanding, at last, that they were moons. Tonight has been about the moons themselves, the fiery one and the ice one, and the great one and the ancient one, each turning faithfully in the dark. Tonight has been about the hidden sea, the great storm, the faint dust rings, the crowns of slow light above the poles. Tonight has been about the patient travelers who crossed the long dark to study the giant and were, at the end, received home into its clouds. And through all of it, tonight has been about the guardian at the gate, the great shield so vast that you can finally rest behind it. The guardian keeps its watch. The guardian keeps its watch. The guardian keeps its watch, and it does not tire, and it does not falter, and it does not ever step away from the gate. The gate is held. The gate is held. The gate is held, and the dark is kept at a distance, and the falling things are caught, and the soft warm center where you sleep is guarded as it has been guarded for billions of years. You are kept. You are kept. You are kept, small and safe and warm, at the still heart of the whole turning arrangement, needing nothing, holding nothing, doing nothing at all. And none of this needs anything from you tonight. The giant does not need you to understand it. The moons do not need you to name them. The watch does not need you to keep it, and the gate does not need you to hold it. And the whole vast patient machinery of the heavens does not need you awake to go on turning. You may set it all down now, every last thread of it, every fact and every image, and let them drift away into the dark, because none of them were ever yours to carry, and none of them ask to be kept. There is nothing here you must hold. There is nothing here you must do. There is only the deep and welcome rest that has been waiting for you all along, and you have earned it, simply by lasting through the long day to reach it. When this quiet exploration ends, there will be another one waiting on the screen, another slow wandering through the dark, ready to begin on its own if you let it. Another voice to hold the night at a distance while you drift. You do not have to reach for it. You do not have to choose it. If you leave it be, it will simply begin, softly on its own, and carry you onward into sleep the way the patient current carried you toward the giant, without any effort from you, without any choice you must make. Let it begin on its own. Let it carry you. There is nothing you need to do but stay exactly where you are, warm and still and kept. And if some small part of you is still turning, still awake enough to wonder, then here is one last soft question to carry down with you into the dark, needing no answer, asking only to be held. When you picture the great guardian out there at the gate, turning slowly, keeping its endless watch, what does it feel like to be kept by something so vast and so patient and so entirely unbothered by you? You need not answer it now. You need not answer it at all. Let the question drift down with you, unanswered, into sleep, a small warm thought to rest beside while the giant turns on at the gate. Now let your body grow heavier, one last time, from the top of your head down through your loosening face, down through your shoulders easing away from your ears, down through your chest that rises and falls without any effort from you, down through your arms grown too heavy to lift, down through the warm hushed center of you, down through your legs sinking deeper into the soft dark, all the way down to your feet, until every part of you is given over fully to the bed that holds you, and the night that holds the bed, and the great swept calm that holds the night, and the giant that holds the gate. You are held on every side. You are kept in every layer. You have nowhere to be and nothing to do and no one to be it for. Only this, only here, only now, only the deep slow drift down into sleep. The winds of the giant flow on. The moons turn on. The crowns of tender light glow on above the poles. The great red storm turns slowly toward its own distant rest, and the guardian keeps its watch at the gate, and the whole vast patient arrangement of the heavens turns serenely on around you, asking nothing, needing nothing, holding you safe at its serene, warm heart. You are small, and you are kept, and you are exactly where you were always meant to be, at the close of a long day, at the edge of the deep dark, letting go, at last, of everything, and sinking softly down into rest. Rest now. The gate is held. The watch is kept. You are safe behind the great turning shield, as you have been safe every night of your life, as you will be safe all the long night through. There is nothing left to do but drift. There is nothing left to hold but the warmth of your own quiet breathing. Let the giant keep its watch. Let the night keep you, and let yourself, now, at last, slip all the way down into the deep and welcome dark. Sleep well.